Welcome to Basecamp, a climbing magazine podcast. Kevin Riley here. Thank you for tuning in. And if you've already subscribed, thank you again. If you have not, you can subscribe at Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast. That way you get the episodes as soon as they're released. Have a great episode for you all. Really enjoyed sitting down with our two guests. Our first interview features Chris Kalman, who I caught up with during the Outdoor Retailers show in Denver, Colorado. Chris is a writer, a guidebook author, and a journalist that recently self-published As Above, So Below, a climbing story. It's a gripping tale of a father-son adventure in the mountains of Patagonia. I don't want to spoil this story, so I'll just say the book touches on a number of different themes, including the dynamics within a climbing family, some of the inherent risks of climbing, and the motivation that drives climbers like us to take those risks. The book kept me up late at night, eagerly turning pages, waiting to see how it's all going to unfold. It's entertaining and thought-provoking, and I really enjoyed the read. Chris also wrote The Index Town Walls, a guide to Washington's finest crag. We talked a little bit about that as well. Then we have an interview with Daniel Woods, who needs no introduction, discussing his early days when he dominated the competitive climbing circuit, what it's like to be a famous professional climber, why he has recently turned his attention to repeating some of the hardest sport climbs in the world, why 2017 was such a tough year for him, and how things have improved since then, what goals he has set for himself as he approaches the Big 3-0, and much, much more. But first, a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by the Access Fund. Did you know 1 in 5 climbing areas in the United States is threatened by an access issue? Whether it's private land lost to development, public land managers overregulating climbing, or climber impacts degrading the environment, the list of threats is long and constantly evolving. At Access Fund, they're on a mission to protect climbing access and the integrity of America's outdoor climbing areas. See how you can get involved at accessfund.org. How's your OR going?
It's going pretty good. This is it for me. I can only muster the energy for like 2 days.
Yeah, you're done, huh?
Yeah, then I'm toast.
Where are you heading after this?
I'm headed up to Washington.
Nice.
Washington State. Gonna go base out of Index for about a month.
That's awesome. So you wrote a guidebook for Index, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. How did that all come about? Is that your local crag?
It was at the time. I was living there. I was a climbing ranger at Mount Rainier.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I went out to Washington for that job. Didn't really know anything about Index. And then I absolutely fell in love with the place on day one. And every day after that, the love just got deeper and deeper. And the guidebook was out of print by like 10 years. So I kind of asked around the community to see if anyone else would be interested in doing it, because I was basically a newbie there. But no one else seemed to have the interest or the bandwidth, so I decided to do it myself.
So how long did that take to compile?
That took about 3 or 4 years, I think, I want to say. And I should mention also, I didn't do it by myself. I did it with my friend Maddie Van Bean, who's an absolutely incredible photographer. So I kind of did all the words, he did all the photos. And then we worked with Sharp End Publishing, who did a fantastic job with the book.
Yeah, it's just, I think about putting together a guidebook and it seems horrifying just because of all the fact checking.
Right.
And then all the locals who fact check for you.
Totally. Well, yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it can be hard because you might get 5 different ideas. Like, 5 people might say, oh, that's 11A, it's 11C, it's 12B. You get a wide range, especially at Index. But at the same time, it's cool that there's, especially in Index, there's a really great community. So if you have a question, you can ask. Other places that may have less of a vibrant climbing community, you may have a really hard time tracking someone down to ask better information.
Yeah. So I've seen tons of photos of Index. Everyone tells me I have to go there.
Yeah.
What do you love most about the area?
Oh, man. I mean, it's like, it's in this beautiful river valley, this Skykomish river valley. And it's, salmon run on it in the fall. In the spring, there are salmon berries. There's oyster mushrooms. It's like being in a rainforest. It is a rainforest.
Yeah.
And then, so you're in this absolutely beautiful area. You could go there and not climb and still just have a fantastic time.
And what's the peak season over there? Is it like everything else in the fall?
Yeah, I mean, fall can get a little rainy. Like September is probably the best month. If you're local to Washington, your best days are probably going to be a few random ones scattered in December and January.
Nice.
But most people, I would say, the season is like June to October. Yeah.
Okay. So, Chris, where did you grow up? Where are you originally from?
I grew up in Northern Virginia, like right outside of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you get into climbing initially?
Yeah. So I started climbing in a gym, Sport Rock climbing gym in Sterling. And
when was this in?
That I was 16 years old.
Okay.
So that was 17 years ago.
Yeah.
For me, the first thing that drew me to the sport was problem solving. So it was like bouldering. Like I remember day one going and trying a boulder problem, falling over and over again in the same place, and then learning some new beta, a new sequence or something that allowed me to finish the problem. And it was cool because I thought the limitation was my physical strength, but it wasn't. It was like my problem solving. And that hooked me from the start.
Let's talk about the book a little bit. As Above, So Below, a climbing story. Where did the title come from?
Yeah, it's actually from, like, I should actually know the answer better. It's I think it's Hermes Trismegistus or something, like some Greek philosopher had like these emerald tablets, and one of the, maxims on those was like, that which is above is the same as that which is below. And the expressions come from there.
And I don't want to give away too much, but why did you write this story?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the thing is, I had dealt with some death, like in my life from within the climbing community, and it sort of came in a string of incidents. And before I felt like I really had any time to process that, my girlfriend, who's still my current girlfriend, her father came down with cancer, and ended up, we moved back to Maryland to be with the family. And it was just, it was kind of a dark time for me. And there was I had not done anything to process any of it. And so this book, initially, it wasn't like an intentional decision to write it. Like, it was just coming out of me. Like, I couldn't sleep at night. And I was like walking downstairs, and I would pour myself a stiff drink and start writing. So that's kind of like the long story short.
Yeah, man, I wish I had done something like that. I lost my parents, did like the in-home hospice thing.
Okay.
And I just like find myself like wandering around the house, like not even trying to do anything. It's just like you kind of just get lost in this darkness sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's all right, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So how did you get into writing initially?
Yeah, so I've been writing since I was like 8 years old. The first things that I was doing were just basically copying my favorite authors.
Who were your favorite authors at the time?
Oh, at that time, I wrote a short book that was based off Orson Scott Card's The Abyss.
Okay.
There's like a great movie about there's like a Hollywood movie, The Abyss. I really liked Michael Crichton. I think I was super interested in gorillas at the time, so there was it wasn't Gorillas in the Mist, but there was some other book about mountain gorillas in the Congo that I read, and then I tried to write a short book kind of in the same vein. I was kind of a nerd, I guess.
Yeah. Did your parents read a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like some of my earliest memories are my dad reading like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit to me as a kid.
So a lot of sci-fi, it sounds like.
Right. Well, my dad's a mathematician, and my mom's she's an aeronautical physicist. Can barely say what she is.
So you were reading a lot when you were growing up. Did you kind of always know you wanted to be a writer professionally?
It's a good question. I wonder if maybe internally I knew. I've always been the type that, like, where I grew up, it might snow once a winter.
Sure.
And I always loved snow, but I would never allow myself to believe it was going to snow, because if it didn't and I believed it was going to, I'd be really disappointed. So for me, like, writing as a career was the same thing. Like, I never allowed myself to believe that could be possible. because that was something that other people did, like professionals, like people that had the chops and the skills. And so I always thought, I'll do something else more pragmatic. But I just have been writing my whole life, and at some point I had some little spots of success here and there.
Like what?
Like the first thing I ever wrote about climbing at all was in college, and I sent it off to Urban Climber.
Oh, I used to work for Urban Climber.
Did you?
Yeah.
Super cool. Okay, well...
Do you remember who you were working with? Was it Joe Urato? Or...
I don't remember.
Okay.
You may remember you guys had like a finish line thing.
Yeah, I remember the finish line.
So it's like a little contest you ran. And so I sent something in. I never heard anything. And then my friend's mom sent me an email. She was like, I saw your article in Urban Climber. And I was like, what article? Because I never heard anything.
They didn't even tell you.
Nobody told me. But when I did like shoot an email to them, they were like, oops, sorry, you get a free crash pad.
That's awesome.
But then shortly after, like, I was like, well, that was cool. I was getting into trad climbing and alpinism at the time. So I was like, maybe I could write for Alpinists. That would be really cool. And they actually took the first piece I ever sent them.
Man, you're on a roll.
Yeah. Well, that's how it started. And I was like, wow, being a writer seems really easy. My first 2 or 3 stories, I had like 100% pitch rate. And I'd say at this point, after almost, like a decade of doing it, I'd say it's like a 25% pitch rate, Yeah,
so. What I found fascinating reading your book was, you kind of, a lot of climbing literature is nonfiction. And here is this piece of fiction. Why did you choose to write fiction?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's hard to talk about the book without giving it away.
I know, exactly. I have the same problem.
So basically, it's a really tough story, right? I won't say too much more than that, but I wanted to use fiction to talk about difficult subjects in a way that would be really hard to talk about in real life. I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I didn't want to offend anyone. I didn't want to criticize people that have passed away in climbing accidents or anything like that. But I did want to kind of develop the idea of what a climbing tragedy might look like.
Did it come naturally writing in the third person? I read so much climbing literature in first person, It kind of like took me off guard a little bit.
It definitely didn't. Yeah, I've written a couple of narratives, so this isn't my first manuscript, but it's not I wouldn't call it my wheelhouse. Like, it was a sustained effort.
Yeah.
What comes far more naturally to me are more like op-ed philosophical inquiries. So, yeah, I mean, the middle part of the story was the first part that I wrote, and that came kind of pouring out of me.
Sure.
And that's mostly internal monologue and dialogue. And so that was actually fairly easy for me to do because it's like what's going on in your own brain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it definitely seemed as I was reading through the book, at first I was like, oh, this is going to be some type of climbing tale about someone doing something badass in the mountains.
Right.
And then it started to seem to me like, oh, this is about growing up in a climbing family and climbing dynamics within a family.
Right.
And then it became this like survival story.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting seeing like the progression. It's interesting hearing you saying that you kind of wrote this middle part first.
Yeah.
And kind of worked backwards or whatever.
Yeah, well, I went to this writing program up at the Banff Center in Canada called the Mountain and Wilderness Writers Workshop. And at that point, I basically had the middle built. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. I wasn't sure where to go with the story from there. And that's where I got a lot of really good instruction and really good ideas. And basically it became evident really quickly that people wanted more. They wanted some, it's like if you have a character in a story, you have to know why to care about that character. And so that's really what part 1 is about, those building family dynamics and setting the location for the piece. You're trying to get the reader to have some sort of relationship with the characters in the story, so that when drama happens to those characters, it matters to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So the main character, Dave, kind of struggles with some of the decisions he's made throughout his life. Climbing is a very selfish sport in many ways. I mean, do you find yourself struggling with some of those same things yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, it's if I had to relate, I don't have a child like David does in the story, but if I had to relate to a character, it would be him. I'm constantly struggling with climbing. Climbing for me it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, period. It's just pure fun. And in many ways, it's like spiritually rejuvenating. And so that's important. But at the same time, like, I think the world today is full of so many serious issues of injustice and social inequality and ecological issues that, for me personally, and I'm not judging anyone else, but for me personally, to focus solely on climbing would feel like I was being kind of it'd be like a hedonism, you know, just like, I'm just gonna have fun and that's it. And so I wanted the character in the story to struggle with that a little bit, because there's a big question in the book of like, are you doing this because you want to or because you need to?
Absolutely.
Right? And I don't know if anyone has that answer individually. Like, I think it varies from person to person.
I know. I mean, I've been struggling with that ever since I started climbing, and David in the stories in his mid-50s or something, and still struggling with it. I'm like, God, I hope that's not me at that age.
I hope so too. I mean, I have no idea. But all I know is that, I've tried to chop climbing out of my life too. Yeah. Because I was like, this doesn't help anyone. It's so selfish. But that didn't work.
Was there a big catalyst for that?
I guess so. Like, probably, at that time, my girlfriend of 5 years and I had broken up.
I heard that story before in the climbing world.
Right. But it wasn't just that. It was like, that happened. I had quit a job that I wasn't feeling like that was working for me. I was missing a front tooth. I was like, just looked like a bum. Everything about me said bum. I was living off unemployment and like working on a pot farm in Oregon. And I was just like, I need to do something with my life that's not just fun, something that contributes, and climbing's not that. So I tried to quit, but it just made me super depressed.
Now, do you think writing has kind of fulfilled that and made you feel like you are contributing more?
I mean, it's super hard. Like, I wrote a piece recently about a big problem with wild salmon populations in British Columbia. I wrote a piece recently that'll come out for Outside about the voluntary climbing closure in Devil's Tower. Social issues, ecological issues, pieces like that, they make me feel like I'm doing something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But even this book, which has sort of a social mission of trying to discuss, accidents and death in the climbing community, when it's just about climbing, it, even if I pour my heart and soul into the piece, I still feel like I'm left wanting a little. Like, I want to write about things that feel like they matter on a global scale.
Yeah. So the book is set in Patagonia. Why did you choose to locate it there?
Yeah, I mean, I was down in El Chalten once. We got skunked, my friend and I, on an attempt to Fitzroy.
Yeah.
But that place has always been scary to me. Before I went there, I had good friends going there. And, I would get some cryptic email from them about so-and-so died, or there was this accident or that. And everyone I've talked to that's ever climbed down there has had some kind of close call. And usually it's not a close call where it's like, oh, yeah, I was way above my gear and I didn't know whether to go for it or not. Usually it's like, yep, a serac collapsed right next to me. Or there was rockfall and I couldn't do anything. And so for me, El Chalten has just been this place of fear that really revolves around variables you can't control.
So you also touch on briefly in El Chalten about development there and commercialism there.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's a negative thing, a positive thing? It's in the book, you almost leave it open.
Yeah, well, that if I've left it open, that's successful. Like if it makes it look like I have an opinion, that would be a failure, because I'm not informed enough to have an opinion.
Okay.
But I think what I was trying to do with that is that's emblematic of climbing, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Climbing used to be this super fringe activity. Even when I started like 16 years ago, there weren't like 12 gyms in the DC area. There were 3 of them. They were all sport rock.
Yeah.
Earth treks didn't exist.
Uh-huh.
And everybody kind of knew everybody. And when you went outside, even sport climbing, like there just weren't that many people there.
Uh-huh. And
so, yeah, climbing has obviously exploded as an activity and a lifestyle. And so as that happens with climbing, it also happens with climbing areas.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, let the reader decide. I think there are positives and negatives that come with that growth.
Yeah. So tell me about publishing the book. It's self-published.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to go down that road?
Well,
or was it made for you?
It was kind of made for me. Yeah. Like initially I had all these starry-eyed ideas of like that program I went to in Banff, like Katie Ives has been there.
Mm-hmm.
Bernadette McDonald was there while I was there. Andy Kirkpatrick, Freddie Wilkinson, like a bunch of big names in climbing writing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, cool, I'm going to get like a big publisher to carry the book. And that didn't happen. Basically, everything about the book was like, repellent for publishers. They were like, climbing fiction? What is that? We've never heard of it. We're not going to do it. 20,000 words? No, you can't do that. It's got to be 50. Hardbound, small, off shape, like illustrated. None of this makes any sense, and we don't know who you are, so we're not even going to give you the time of day.
Yeah.
So I really didn't have any other options. But as soon as I did the Kickstarter and realized that I was actually going to have the funds to do it,
Mm-hmm.
I got really excited, because self-publishing means you can do whatever the F you want.
Yeah,
You get to call all the shots.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't have to like worry about whether it was going to meet with someone's profit margins or not.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, I'm going to hire Craig Muterlach to do the art, and I'm going to pay him good, and I'm going to give him a bonus when we're done, and I'm going to hire Sarah to do a beautiful cover, and we're going to make it look exactly the way
it is a gorgeous book. My girlfriend,
Yeah.
who isn't really into climbing, she was like, oh, this is such a nice looking book.
Thanks.
The illustrations are great. I was
Yeah.
kind of hoping there were a few more of them.
I know. Well, Craig gave me an incredibly good rate. It was like stealing from him as it was. So I couldn't be more pleased. But fortunately, like Craig has tons of other work, and there's a lot of artists of his caliber out there doing really cool things. So I couldn't get too many more in the book, but man, he just nailed it. I was so happy with his work on that.
And so how's it doing for you?
I've been super surprised that it's doing really well. Like I've sold about 200 copies in the first month that I've had them.
Awesome.
My initial inventory was 1,000 copies.
Mm-hmm.
About 200 have gone to Kickstarter backers.
Yep.
And so I'm left with like 550 copies.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just barely started like tapping the retail store market.
Sure.
So a few like super core community climbing shops are carrying them around the Front Range, the Northeast, out in Washington State. But a lot of those sales have just been word of mouth. Mm-hmm. So I feel really honored that people are talking about the book and spreading the word about it on social media.
So what's next for you?
Well,
on the writing side of things.
Yeah, so that's a good question. One of my main clients is ramping up activities, so I'm going to be busy with some client work for a little bit. And then I do want to write sort of a follow-up book, not like a sequel necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but another similar sized, similar themed, like something that feels almost like a souvenir or like a keepsake.
Yeah.
The way this book does. And I hope within the next 5 years I've got 3 of them.
Okay.
And then I can put those together in a collection and start looking for mainstream publishers.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks so much. I really enjoyed the book. It kept me up late last night, and I was super tired all day. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, man. I really appreciate you taking the time.
All right. Take care.
All right. Later.
Well, that's our conversation with Chris Kalman, author of As Above, So Below, which you can find at chriskalman.com. Up next, Daniel Woods. Cool. All right. Sweet. Here with Daniel Woods. Welcome, Daniel.
Welcome. Thanks.
So you're back here in Boulder.
Yep.
How's it been being back?
It's been pretty nice to be back. Boulder's my home base. But at the same time, it's also nice to get out of Boulder and travel and climb on new rocks and stuff like that. Whenever I return back from a trip, I know Boulder pretty well. It's my comfort zone, so it's chill.
And what's your typical routine?
So when I'm back home, typical routine, honestly, is either going to the tension climbing facility to train. That's just outside of Denver, or...
And tell me about that place. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, so tension, they make the tension board. It's a bunch of wooden holds, a symmetric board where you can train your right side, your left side. You can change the angle of the wall from like 30 to 55 degrees. But they also have a pretty big, like, massive beast wall, and this wall is just littered with a ton of old school grips, new school grips, wooden holds, whatever. So it's a good tool to like make up your own stuff, train specifically for a project and such like that.
You enjoy that training?
Yeah, for me it's the best type of training. It's fun to go into gyms and stuff too and like monkey around and have fun, but if I need to get in shape for an outdoor project, I need that specific tool, and tension offers that. So
okay, so training's part of your routine. What else do you get into?
Besides training, I hang out with friends. We go out at night. We have dinner. Watch movies. Go see live music shows, stuff like that. So just whatever sounds fun and different. Stoked to go and try to get into it.
When did you get into climbing? You're from Texas originally?
Yeah, originally from Texas. I started climbing when I was 5.
Wow. Your parents get you into that?
Yeah, my dad got me into it. I was part of a Boy Scout group, and one of the activities was to go climb at this place called Mineral Well State Park. And it was crazy. Like, from a young age, I climbed for the first time, and even though I was so young, it clicked with me. It just felt right. Like, I was like, oh, I want to spend like the rest of my life doing this activity.
Wow. Was there a reason why? Was it like the adventure, the excitement, the athleticism?
Yeah, I think at the time I didn't really know why, because I was so young. But now that I look back and reflect, I think I just loved being able to look at a piece of rock, understanding what the sequence is going to be, kind of gets your head turning in a different way. And then I also like the athletic side, where you get to feel your strength while you're moving and feel your body while you're executing the sequence. And that's like, for me at least, a pretty empowering feeling. And it's addicting. It's like once you have a dose of it, then it lasts for a little bit, then you're on to the next, and you need another one.
Yeah, totally. How long did it take you to get into competitive climbing?
So I started competing at age 9. My dad ended up moving our family to Colorado. I actually grew up in Longmont, but I would spend most of my time in Boulder because that's where all the climbing gyms were. So when I moved to Colorado, that was when I started like getting pretty serious with it. I got involved with the BRC junior climbing team, and then my coaches like taught us technique, how to train power. They took us outside every weekend, taught us how to climb outside, and stuff like that. So. And
how did your family get involved as well?
So I think my dad shared the same addiction as I shared. And it was a good experience because it allowed us to spend a lot of time together. Like, he was my main climbing partner growing up. He would drive me to all these locations, but then it gave him an excuse to also climb. So it worked out. My mom wasn't really into climbing back in the day, but she had like a fear of heights and stuff, but she supported it, and she was stoked that me and my dad were stoked on it. My sister got into it as well.
And are you older than your sister or younger?
I'm older. She's 27 now. Okay, yeah, cool. We're pretty close.
You're really close. Does she live here as well?
Yeah, she does. She lives in Denver, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And were you better than your dad, like right off the bat? Or was there a time when your dad was stronger than you?
Probably when I first started, we were definitely like the same ability. I'd say when I started getting involved with the junior team, though, that's when my level went way up. Because I was just climbing with people that were way better than me, learning a lot, and had amazing coaches. So all of that was necessary to improve.
Mm-hmm. So you destroyed the comp circuit for a long time. I mean, you were kind of like on the top. Did you enjoy the competition? Did you enjoy the spotlight?
Yeah, I mean, competitive climbing and outdoor climbing are two different styles of climbing for me. When you go into a competition, it's you're going to make a result, you know? It's like your goal's podium, your goal's to win the event. Whereas like when you're going outside, you're not really trying to beat out other people. It's more about for yourself, you know? So I was attracted to that sense of competition where it gave me an outlet to go and try to prove myself with other people, you know, some of the other best climbers around the US or world.
And who did you look up to when you were younger in the climbing world?
Growing up, I guess I looked up to probably the same people that most people did. I had posters of Tommy on my wall, Chris Sharma, Dave Graham, Fred Nicole, all those guys. I really liked James Litz's style of climbing a lot. I liked how he had this really robotic style to him, super strong fingers, really good at isolating holds, and I kind of could relate to that style, and so that's like what I practiced when I was climbing in the gym. I was like, I want really strong hands, I want to be able to do a bunch of one arms, I want to be able to control whatever movement is presented before me. So,
and as you came up through the climbing circuit, was it weird climbing next to them and competing against them? That must have been bizarre, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I'd say my first contest or outdoor contest that I got involved with was the Phoenix bouldering contest from way back in the day, and Sharma was probably like 18 or 19 years old, and I remember like walking side by side with him and kind of looking up and be like, whoa, I like know who you are, and, or I've heard of you at least. I don't know who you are, but I kind of had that like starstruck feeling, you know?
Sure. Yeah, me too. I remember the first time I met Chris. You kind of have a similar climbing style as Chris, you know, real powerful.
Yeah.
Real dynamic.
He's just a little taller than I am. So.
Yeah. How much taller is he?
I mean, I'm like 5'7", 5'8", and I have a positive ape, and Sharma's probably like 6 foot with a positive. So yeah, a little difference there.
So you became famous in the climbing world at a young age. How did that affect you?
To be honest, I don't think I really understood it enough for it to affect me. I was just stoked that I could get supported through companies to go and do what I love to do and climb. Yeah. Definitely when I was younger, I didn't notice it, but when I started hitting like 16, 17, 18, and then sponsors were like, here's more money, here's this to go and do this. I started feeling a pressure to like go out and perform and be like, well, if I want to keep this as like my job as well, I need to keep pushing standards and like having myself known out in the world, you know? So I had to just learn how to balance that, because ultimately it's like I climb because it's my lifestyle, my hobby. It's what I enjoy doing, and money's just kind of the icing on the cake that comes with it.
Sure.
So I can continue doing it. So
is climbing as a career, does it make climbing less fun? Or more stressful?
It definitely makes it a little more stressful for sure. But it doesn't take away the fun of it. I mean, I know the reasons I climb, and even if I didn't get supported, I would still climb. I would just find a job, you know? But I think if I had climbing taken completely away from me, I would kind of go insane in the head.
Sure.
Like, I wouldn't feel like my person.
Growing up here in Colorado, obviously a large portion of people out here are climbers or outdoorsy. They kind of follow, you know, the outdoors.
For sure.
When you were in high school, did your classmates know that you were this like big time rock climber, and do you feel like they treated you differently?
They definitely knew I climbed. They knew I was winning competitions, and they more got the competition side of things. The outdoor, like if I was like, I just went on a trip and did a V14 or something, they didn't really understand that. But they knew, like, they definitely knew that I was one of the top climbers. But since most people back in the day, all they got was like skateboarding or team sports or whatever like that, I don't think they fully, they were like, they're more surprised, like, oh, you can actually survive off of climbing, like you just climb rocks all the time. What does that mean? How does that work?
Totally. So I spend my winters in Las Vegas. I'm a climbing guide out there.
Oh, perfect.
And I climbed over at Red Rock Climbing Center a lot, and I would see Alex Honnold there.
Oh, nice.
And he said he really loved the gym, even though the gym's pretty old school.
Yeah.
And I think it's because he doesn't get approached a lot there. So, I wonder, as a recognizable professional climber, if you get approached a lot at the gyms and if it's annoying, or how you deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like back in the day, I definitely didn't get approached as much because climbing wasn't as big. But now, like, more gyms are getting installed, and even if I go to like Movement in Boulder or BRC or something, people will come up and be like, oh, like, can I get an autograph? Or kind of like watch, like, I'll have people just sit there and watch me climb and stuff. And then it's definitely when I travel outside of Colorado, it's like people come up all the time. But to be honest, it's like I've just learned how to like accept it, and I know like they're not judging me or anything. Sure. Or maybe they subconsciously are, but whatever. I can't control that. But my whole goal is just to like share my passion of climbing with them, and if I'm stoking them out, then that's awesome, because that means they're just going to get stoked because of that. So yeah, climbing's a beautiful lifestyle, and my goal is also for people to come and know that climbers are friendly and stuff. They're easily approachable. Like, it's a good community to be a part of, and so yeah, the whole goal is just to like accept people to come and not deny them.
Yeah. So what do you do when you just don't want to be approached by people?
I go to gyms that are private. If I'm in a mood where, I mean, I've had times where I've gone into Movement and I had this like 3-hour intensive training program that I was about to execute, and then people come up and start talking, and it steers your focus away from like what you came to do. But now I've just realized, like, if I need to train, I'm going to go somewhere that's private, and I can just get my stuff done with my friends, and then we can move on from there.
You're really known as a boulderer. And recently you've been ticking off all these hard sport climbs. Why the change from bouldering to sport climbing?
So actually I started out as a sport climber. Okay. I bouldered bouldering's always been viewed as practice climbing. So I bouldered to get strength so I could go do some harder sport routes. And then I just kind of developed a love for bouldering. And then I stopped sport climbing and just focused on bouldering for many years. And now I'm kind of tapping back into my sport climbing roots and just trying to switch things up and have a different experience.
And what's like kind of the difference between the two mentally and physically for you?
Yeah, there's actually a pretty big difference. I think mentally sport climbing is a lot harder for me. I'm learning that my attention span doesn't really last so long. So if I'm climbing a 30 to 50 meter pitch, like, the moves are hard, but just easy enough compared to boulder problems where I start almost getting bored and my head starts wandering, and then I fall because I'm not actually present and in the zone, you know? So I've learned, I'm having to learn to be able to grow my mental strength, and the best way is long sport routes. You
ticked off La Capella 515B in Spain in a week. And crushed a bunch of other climbs in Spain on a recent trip. What did you take away from that experience?
It's kind of funny because my first trip to Spain was 2 years ago. My whole goal was to climb longer routes. And this trip, I was like, I'm going to pick shorter, more resistant routes, something that's going to be more my style, but I'm going to try harder lines and see if I can get them done. So La Capella is only like 15 meters long. It's basically 3 boulders stacked on top of each other, and same with first round, first minute. It's super short. There's like, as you pull on, or when you pull on, you have like a couple minutes before you're gonna get pumped and you're off the wall. So I can approach those routes like I do a boulder problem. So for me, that was like an easier transition. Now it would be kind of cool to like focus in and do some longer, harder sport routes, because it'll just be a different challenge.
Yeah. And like with La Capella and like a boulder problem like Jade V16, How do those compare?
Jade's V14 now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, it got downgraded.
It got downgraded.
Okay. Well, with other, really hard boulder problems.
Yeah.
How do those compare? Do you have to spend more time on the sport climbs than the bouldering, or?
Since I know how to boulder right now, when I approach I think the reason I did La Capella so fast is because I've done, in all, La Capella is like a really long V15 boulder, and I've done numerous V15s.
Yeah.
And so when I saw Capella, I was like, I could probably do this thing quick. It's my style of climbing. I don't have to learn much here, I just gotta the only thing in my head was the grade of 15B, which can also be intimidating because it was something I hadn't tapped into before. But yeah, I mean, with bouldering, it's my comfort zone. Conditions matter for me. If the conditions are good, I get this surge of power, and I know I'm going to execute.
Is that why you climb at night a lot?
Sometimes, yeah. I'm all about chasing when the climb's going to be the best during what part of the day and stuff like that. Looking at weather reports and stuff.
Sure. So you mentioned first round, first minute.
Yeah.
Why do you want to get that climb so bad? Why is that on your tick list?
To me, it's this it's a route that's a fine line between bouldering and sport climbing. It's just long enough. I think it's 35 to 40 moves, where I would classify it as a sport climb, but the nature of it is super bouldery. So that's what attracted me to it is, as soon as you pulled on, you're continuously moving to the top. You have to develop a good rhythm. You have to be in strong bouldering shape and stuff like that. And also, it's a pretty legend route from Chris Sharma. And that was maybe the second 9B or 15B that was established after Jumbo Love. Also, just the hold types, the movement on first round is really appealing. It's super steep. There's cool tufa pinches on it, pockets. There's a pretty savage mono at the top. So it has every style of climbing and hold type.
Yeah, I saw you projecting that, and you took a fall and actually broke a beaner. Did that freak you out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever done that before.
Yeah, I've never seen it before. That's crazy.
But yeah, I don't. And for one, it wasn't the weakness of the beaner. I definitely the way. It wasn't my draw either. It was another person working first round, but they had some tape around the webbing to make the beaner tight to the webbing. And then the beaner got cross-loaded in the bolt. So when I fell on a cross-loaded beaner, and then it just disintegrated.
Jeez.
But it was, I remember, because I skip a bolt in the crux, and I remember falling, and then I just kept falling, and then I was a foot above the ground, and I was like, this is weird, but luckily nothing bad happened.
You've climbed with Dave Graham a lot. I've seen you in a lot of videos with him. Have you guys been friends for a long time?
Yeah, I first met Dave probably when I was 16 during a Petzl Rock trip in Squamish. And yeah, he was super friendly. I liked his style. He just had a personality, he's pretty intelligent and knows a lot about different things, but in an eccentric way,
Very eccentric. A lot of sci-fi going on.
A lot of sci-fi, and I don't know. I was just I was attracted to his motivation and his passion for climbing, and I was like, well, this guy would be the perfect person to go travel with because he's motivated. He's going to get me stoked. Hopefully I can get him stoked. And then after that, it just kind of evolved, and Dave was running around finding these areas, showing me projects that he found. And it's always been this really good, friendly team dynamic. There's never been this weird competition struggle between us.
So back in December of 2017, I remember checking out your Instagram, and you had a post that 2017 was the worst year ever because of a DUI and a divorce and an MCL injury. It was actually quite inspiring to me because I've made a lot of those same mistakes.
I think
and I've had some really bad years. But it was cool that you kind of just came out and said, hey, this is what's happened to me. It sucks, but I'm moving forward. How did that, how did 2017 and those events affect you, and what did you learn from it?
I don't know. We all deal with things differently and stuff. And I think like before all that stuff happened, I had in my head, I was like, because that's when I separated with my ex, and I was like, okay, I'm free now. I'm invincible. I'm just going to do whatever I want, you know? And
been there.
But then it like kind of caught up to me after a while. And I was like, I found myself actually like drinking more than I normally do and stuff like that. And like going out a lot more and not really focusing on my climbing, but I lost track of my identity, you know? It's like, I had this like fuck everything mentality.
Sure.
And then I kind of knew, like, I think when I got the DUI, that was like my wake up call. I was like, okay, look, like, you're not invincible. Like, you can't disobey the law, and you're also like a high profile figure. So that's probably not going to look that good on you, you know? But it was good because it, like, I mean, I sobered up and I didn't drink for like 3 months because I was being drug tested and stuff. So it just allowed me to like have a sober head and to really think things through and kind of get my shit together. And now it's great because I mean, I still go out with friends and drink and stuff, but I'm not like climbing is my priority, like pushing myself. And I know like if I'm not able to be healthy and be completely there in my head, then I'm not going to be able to push myself, and that's more important to me than just getting messed up all the time. So
yeah, totally.
So it was good. Like going into 2018, I was like, I already had in my head, I was like, you need to have a balance and know how to like go and have fun, celebrate something that you're proud of, but then also get back to work and go out there and like keep pushing yourself.
Yeah. And has 2018 been a better year so far?
Yeah, 2018's been a way better year. I don't have a breathalyzer in my car. I have freedom to travel now, and I can actually go and do what I'm like meant to do. And I had a really good trip to Spain. I'm about to go to South Africa in 3 days and go straight into bouldering mode. And I have a lot of boulder projects I'm stoked on, and it's still early on in the year, so hopefully it turns out to be good even till the end.
Are you going to South Africa with friends, or is it like a sponsor's trip?
So I'll be going to the Rocklands with my friend Sean Rabitu. His sister Brooke will be going, another friend Stefan, and then we have an Italian friend, Giuliano Cameroni, who's really strong. He'll be joining us, and Dave will be out there, my friend Chad, his girlfriend Isabel. So we have like a pretty good crew headed out. So I think, the vibe should be good.
Yeah. And you've been going to South Africa for a long time now, huh?
Yeah. This might be my 4th trip there.
Cool.
I took 2 years off. I just needed to I just wanted to climb some stuff in the park, take a break from that travel. But now like all this new stuff has gone up, new zones have been found. So it'll be a good experience. I'll just be able to go and repeat a bunch of stuff, climb on some new projects, and just try to level up. Cool.
Saw on Instagram that you have some new ink.
Yeah.
So how many tattoos do you have? What tattoos do you have?
I have 2 at the moment, but the thing about tattoos is they're like pretty addicting. So I'm already like, oh, maybe I want this for my arm. I want this for my leg. But when that starts creeping in, I'm like, okay, think about these a little bit. Like, do you really want what you're about to put on your body? But at the moment I have, on my right side, it's a lion because in astrology, I'm a Leo.
Okay.
But this I got when I was 18. It's tribal. I would have done it way different now. So that's why it's good to think about it.
I think a lot of people got tattoos like that because of that. I think a lot of climbers started getting tattoos on their side. Did you realize that?
I kind of did, yeah. It's like, they're like, oh, it's okay to get tattoos and be a climber.
Yeah, totally.
Nice. So I'm setting a trend or
You're
something
a trendsetter
now.
for sure.
Sick. Well, next will be the neck tat. We'll see how many get those.
So you have a skull, though, right? A new skull?
I have this giant skull on my side, and then like in its mouth is a black widow.
Okay.
My friend Hunter Damiani, he did the black widow, and he did the skull. And I told him to do a skull just because that's what he specializes in. He's really good at those.
Cool.
I don't know. This one, I don't know if maybe it has some meaning to it. I guess like the Black Widow is just like, I don't know. I've always been into them when I was young. Kind of a dangerous spider, you know?
Totally.
And then the skull is like behind it. I guess that kind of represents like my dark side, like all the bad shit that I've done and kind of a reminder to just like not revisit that, and like keep that balance up to date. But ultimately I got these tats just for art pieces, like my friend Hunter's, like, he has this weird like trippy style to him, and it shows in his artwork. So I kind of wanted this like skull that was looking like it was coming out of my body and stuff. And I just wanted it to be different than the tribal.
Totally. So there's been a lot of controversy with the whole Joe Kinder, Sasha DeJillian.
Yeah.
As a, high profile athlete, has that affected how you see your role in the industry?
I mean, I guess it's allowed me to see what can happen when something like that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess in general, like, I guess professional athletes have to be pretty careful, like we're held on this pedestal, and it does suck that we're not able to have the ability to kind of say whatever we want without getting harsh judgment.
Totally.
Because in general, everyone should be just held to the same standard, like
absolutely.
Pro athletes shouldn't be, but the reason we are is because we're in the limelight a lot more, like we're the face that represents our companies, our sport. And so if people that are just getting into climbing or something sees that this athlete's done so and so, then sure, it might like make that company look bad and stuff like that. So you just have to be careful. But yeah, that was some crazy stuff just because I'm good friends with Joe, like I've known him since I was young. I know Joe's like not a bad person at all.
Sure.
Like he definitely has a dark sense of humor, but so do I, so do a lot of my other friends, and so do a lot of people out there in the world. It's just more of knowing when it's right to let your dark humor show, and knowing when to hold it back. So I think that's where this all got blown out of proportion, is some stuff just got out there, and then it was pretty serious, especially what's going on in America right now with the whole gender equality and racism and all that stuff, So I think that I think it's good that attention was shown, because people definitely need to treat each other good. It's like we're put on this earth to work with each other, to bring each other up and try to accomplish cool things, but we definitely are human and we slip up sometimes.
Totally.
So
yeah. You've been a professional climber for a long time. How do you keep it fresh and exciting?
Yeah, I think now the best way to keep it fresh is just flipping back in between different genres of climbing. It's like whenever I find myself getting bored with bouldering, I'm like, okay, it's time to switch over and let's climb some routes. Let's have a different experience, and vice versa. The next step will be probably getting into some trad climbing, like just having a different experience. And then also comps are different. So it's pretty easy actually to stay motivated. Like also too, I have like some pretty sick friends to be able to hang out with and climb, and then like seeing their motivation, their passion helps keep my spark going, and then if I see someone do something from Europe or Asia or South America, or whatever, it's like, oh, that's cool. Like everyone around the world's trying hard right now, and I need to level up now. I need to like continue trying hard. So
well, with like you and Maddie Hong and Jonathan Segrist, you guys are just like destroying it now. Like 515B's like no big deal. I mean, I imagine you guys are kind of like building on each other's psyche and motivation, and
for sure
trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Exactly. It's good.
So when you're not climbing, what do you like to do? Do you have other hobbies?
Yeah, so when I'm not climbing during the summer, I usually skateboard a lot. Pretty into that. Winter, if I'm not on a trip, I'll go snowboard. I like watching TV series, movies. I should read more books. That's the goal. I should also start learning a new language. That should be the next goal. But also too, I don't know, I've been lately I've been motivated to like getting in closer with my sponsors that I'm working with and trying to help them out, and like especially with Evolve, like trying to give them ideas for new climbing shoes and approach shoes, and just try and give them content that's going to make their company like look cool, and people are going to be stoked to go there and get the product and stuff. So I think before I kind of just had this like athlete mentality, and now I want to have that like athlete mentality but also be like a figure in the company as well.
Totally. That's actually an interesting point. Like you can't be a professional climber forever. At some point the young kids are going to come up and start climbing harder.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you see yourself evolving in the industry as you grow older? How old are you, by the way?
August 1st I turned 29.
Okay, so you're still young.
I'm still young.
One of those kids. I shouldn't even ask that question.
I can still be an athlete at least for the next like 10 years.
10 years, yeah. You got 10 years. We'll forget that question. No.
But no, you are right though. There's like I'm only going to be at the top of my game for however long, to be determined. But there's going to be that next generation that comes up, and they're going to be doing stuff that I thought was hard back in the day, and they're going to do it quick and be like, and then they're going to establish that next level. So my whole goal is like, I've always wanted like a climbing team. I thought that would be so cool. Like have a company, have a climbing team, be able to support the team, send them to different spots, get a lot of footage, come back, but just be a source to where I could like employ like if you're like a 16-year-old kid, and you're like, I just want to go on this climbing trip. Be like, here's your plane ticket, here's your car, here's your accommodation, go out, have fun, have a good experience, bring back some material, and then we'll like blow you up,
Yeah. That's actually a cool idea. It's kind of got that like surf skate idea behind it, like Dogtown, Z-Boys.
Yeah, and that's kind of, and like I grew up in the skate world as well, and like I was like, some of my favorite companies are Baker and America, and they're run by Andrew Reynolds, and he started out as an athlete, then he progressed into like kind of a businessman, but he like knew his sport so well, and he knew how to target certain people because he knows the sport, and then he was able to create the Baker team, America team, stuff like that, and just like, and now skateboarding's like that spawned other people to do the same thing, and now skateboarding's one of the larger alternative sports out there.
When you're climbing, do you like to be photographed and videoed, or is it annoying? Or how's that process?
To be honest, I don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah.
I want to be filmed and videoed now for sure, because it's the more content I can produce for people out there, like that's just going to get them more stoked,
Totally.
And I love going out and being like, okay, this climber does this climb, I can get some beta from him, I can get some stoke, and then I can go to the gym and train, so if people are down to film, like, yeah, keep it going. There's no worries there.
Any plans to put up routes or really focus on first ascents?
Yeah, I think so. With sport climbing, what I'm kind of doing right now is repeating and getting a feel for like how hard some of these like test pieces are, So I have an idea for when I go out there and I establish something, I can be like, okay, well, I can call this thing 9A plus 9B because I've repeated these other classic lines put up by legend climbers, So for the next year or so, it'll be more repetition, but I'll be keeping my eyes open for some lines that jump out, and then I'll definitely like switch mentalities, and it would be cool to go and develop a crag, like develop a place that has all levels of climbing. You can like put it on like a topo online or something, and people can go there and be like, okay, like the 511 you established was sick, the 513 you established was sick. So I think that'll be like the next step, like later on down, is just like being able to establish.
Cool. Well, that's exciting.
For sure. And same goes with bouldering too. Like I've actually missed like in Africa, I'll be repeating a few lines, but I'm definitely stoked to like look for some more lines, because that whole process of establishing something is like pretty out there. It's good.
Anywhere you haven't been that you're really itching to get to?
Yes, so I haven't spent much time in Eastern Europe. Like going to Slovenia would be really cool. That's high on my list. Czech Republic. Going to Croatia. There's good climbing there. My friends know of some climbing in Russia, so that would be kind of cool to check that place out. So yeah, mostly Eastern Europe. I'd be psyched to go back to Japan, spend more time there. And then also Brazil. My friend Felipe has a bunch of crags there that he's been climbing at, so it'd be cool to like go and visit that place again too.
You must really love to travel, because as you're saying all this, it's just making my head spin. Like, I hate airports, I hate planes. I like to drive, but like, how do you deal with all that travel?
I hate airports and I hate airplanes too.
Yeah.
That's the worst part of it, but the best part is that's also what helps keeps things fresh, you know? Like, if I stay in Colorado too long, I get tunnel vision, I get claustrophobic. I'm like I need to get out of here. I need something else, you know?
Totally.
And so I think that's where my passion to travel comes from, and getting to meet new people and experience different cultures and stuff like that. It's just icing on the cake.
Cool. Well, I'm feeling pretty good about this. How are you feeling?
It's great.
Did I miss anything?
I guess as of now, my whole goal for the next couple years is I'll be doing a lot more traveling. I'm not renting or anything. So my parents were stoked to have, they were like, you can stash your stuff at our place, and whenever you're in town, you can stay here and there. So at the moment, I'm pretty just psyched to be able to pick whatever destination I want to go to and climb as many rocks as possible.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for stopping by.
Yeah, no worries.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been great.
All right, that's the conclusion of the show. Want to thank Daniel Woods and Chris Kalman for taking the time to sit down with us. Theme music was provided by Small Houses at smallhouses.band. And please remember to subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast. If you're feeling generous, maybe leave a rating and a review. All right, everyone. See you at the next Basecamp.